Alright, welcome to ALHS Beginner Chess Club. Today we'll be going how the pieces move, different ways chess has been played, and finally the revival of chess. First, the goal of chess is to take the other person's king. That's a recap. This is how I learned how to play chess on this very new-fashioned board. It's from my grandpa. It's actually 30 years old, as you can see from the crease down the middle in that bottom right picture. So first, start with the pawn. The pawn, its first move can move two pieces at once, but normally it just moves one piece forward at a time, cannot move backwards or sideways, and it can only capture a piece by going diagonally either way. Next, we'll look at the rook, a pretty simple piece that just goes in straight lines all the way across the board, either direction, anyway, like across. Next is a knight. It's kind of a hard piece. I learned like that green arrows where you can go in L's, goes 1, 2 over either way, 1, 2 over either way. The newer way to learn, you move into a cross, which is one either way, and then diagonally. That was kind of dumb. Next piece is the bishop. It moves kind of like the rook, moves diagonally all the way across the board. Oh, I forgot a rule about the pawn, actually. The pawn, if you go all the way across the board, like in checkers, it's called a promotion, and you can make a queen, rook, knight, or bishop. It's just another rule. The best piece in chess, the queen, can move like a rook, a bishop, and a king. That square around it is how a king moves, and obviously like the rook and the bishop, diagonally in straight lines all the way across the board. That's the king right there, like I said with the queen, just moves one all the way across. It can move two with the rook, called the castle, where if they're lined up with no pieces in between them, you move it twice, and they switch spots, making it safe for the king. Next is different ways to play chess. On the board right now are time variations and different game modes, like King of the Hill and 3-check, where King of the Hill you try to get to those 4 pieces in the middle, keep it as long as possible, and 3-check is you win the game if you put their king in check 3 times. Those ways are all boring though. We're going to go over older ways, starting in northern India with Chaturanga, which looks a lot like modern chess, but this is from the 7th century. You can see it has all the pawn development, a king, a queen, a bunch of pieces that look kind of like a rook and a knight too. This is more modern Chaturanga, which is a lot more confusing. I don't know how it works, but next we're moving to Sassanid Persia, which was just Chaturanga. They played it like that, but they called it Shah Mat, for the king is helpless, like a checkmate. Following the Silk Road, we're going to be moving to Asia and following Tamerlane, a Mongol warlord who ruled that part of northern Asia and Eastern Europe, and made this chess game on an 11 by 10 board with your normal pieces like a giraffe, an elephant, stuff like that. And people still learned how to play on those 2 boards on the right. I had no idea how to play. There's thing called towers instead of rooks. And there's different forms you can start the board, like the king side board, where you get 2 different pieces around the king, queen side, a bunch of other stuff. I don't know how it works. Next, we're going to go into the revival of chess. It started by the Soviet Union being really good at chess and beating everybody in chess. This guy, Garry Kasparov, who's actually playing a computer that we'll talk about later, called Deep Blue, right there, is what kind of started the revival of chess. Because Beth Harmon from Queen's Gambit had been playing, and they thought it was early enough that they started coding computers to try and beat real people. And this was the best computer at it. Garry Kasparov was looking pretty confident in this picture, and in a couple moves, rethinking his life choices. But they changed computers around. Instead of from this, it's more like this, to helping people learn how to play chess. This guy, Thomas, I've played him before. He's not that hard. It's from 300 to 3,000, like we were talking about with the ratings earlier. So 3,000 is like the IMB Deep Blue rating. And that guy in the middle, that very nice machine, is like 300 to 1,000 rating. That more teaches you how to play, gets you involved in chess, stuff like that. Another revival of chess is obviously Queen's Gambit. Came out, and there were 60 million watches in 4 weeks, and everyone was thinking, just, well, I could get back into chess, play a couple games. And at the same time, this tournament came out called PogChamps on Twitch with pretty famous people, like if you can see on that picture, Dwight Schrute, which is Rainn Wilson, against Logic. There's other people like popular streamer XQC, Pokimane, and they were all rating from about 600 to 1,500 in that tournament for this one. I watched every game. Some games were better than others, but it was still fun to watch. People would blunder their queens. Anything could happen in PogChamps. And this was the viewer count. On the very far right, you can see where it peaked at 400,000 viewers one day. And that was on top of Twitch, which is a popular streaming network for video games and anything like that. So that's, to recap what we did today, we looked how the pieces moved, different ways to play chess, and finally the revival of chess. That kind of got me back into it because I had played a little bit on and off, but now I'm back into it again, playing at about 800 to 700 rating. Thank you for your time today. That's all I have for you.